Brian.
Elisa.
Roberto.
The topic of parenting is everywhere. When parenting your child, you often wonder if you're doing things the right way or if you're going to be paying for some therapy in 20 years. Attachment parenting has had a lot of negative perceptions about it, thanks to this May 2012 cover of Time magazine, which obviously shows a woman breastfeeding her 4-year-old son. This is the main reason why people look at attachment parenting and think it's crazy. But the truth is, with attachment parenting, you are going to raise a thriving, healthy child. Dr. William Sears, who is a pediatrician and has been for the past 20 years, actually invented the term being attached or attachment parenting. And he bases it off of 7 baby B's or attachment tools. Some of them being birth bonding and breastfeeding, baby wearing, co-sleeping, believing in the language of your baby's cry, and on top of that, balancing the family life. So let's talk about birth bonding. Birth bonding is the natural bonding process right after you deliver your baby. It's very important to get off to a good start because having a traumatic birth, maybe from an unnecessary C-section, you're separated from the baby and it delays that natural bonding process. So natural birth, even though the key word in there is natural, it's not as easy as it sounds. And in order to achieve a natural birth and to start that bonding off the right way, you could look into a couple things like Hypnobaby, which is developed by Marie Morgan, who's been a midwife for the past 30 years. And this specific method is devoted to helping women start this process of the baby's life on the right foot and delivering almost pain-free. So if you're looking into a natural birth and want to start their life off in a natural way, then that's definitely something to look into. So now we're going to talk about breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is the first step in learning how to read your baby. In breast milk, there's brain-building nutrients that you can't buy in a can of formula. And when you breastfeed, you also release hormones that you get while kissing, having sex, and exercising. This specific hormone is called oxytocin, and it basically gives the mother a huge boost. So for moms, not only is it beneficial in the sense that you're giving your baby the best, but you reduce your risk of breast cancer, and you burn about 500 extra calories a day just from breastfeeding, and it's a lot cheaper. And the American Academy of Pediatrics actually supports breastfeeding 100%. The National Institute of Health and Environmental Sciences actually says that children who are breastfed have a 20% less chance of dying from the age of 28 days up into a year versus babies who are formula fed. So now we covered the hard part. We've covered birth bonding and breastfeeding. Let's get to the funner things about what you do when you get home from the hospital. So baby wearing is a huge topic and a huge point in attachment parenting. Baby wearing helps babies learn firsthand, and Hunziker and Barr in 1986 actually did a study that says that babies who are worn regularly cry 43% less and 53% less during the evening hours. Baby wearing also improves sensitivity to the parents, and it helps you know what your baby wants before they want it, if that makes sense. Let's talk about co-sleeping now. Co-sleeping produces better sleeping habits for mother and baby. There's no nighttime anxiety for being left away from your baby or your baby wondering where you are in the night. You can breastfeed in your sleep, which to me is the best part about breastfeeding and co-sleeping. There is, though, a co-sleeping argument where a lot of people think that co-sleeping is the reason hundreds of babies die a year from SIDS, but this actually isn't the case. James McKenna, who is a SIDS researcher, says that co-sleeping with the parent and the significant other and the baby is the safest way for a baby to sleep. Cultures actually who practice co-sleeping as the norm have a less likelihood of SIDS and babies dying in their sleep. And actually Japan, which cribs are almost kind of outlawed. If you use a crib, you're not culturally normal. The main thing that people in Japan do is just co-sleeping, and they actually have the lowest SIDS rate in the entire world. So not only are we worried about SIDS, but we're also worried about other crib injuries. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission pushes cribs, saying that cribs, bassinets, and players are the safest place for a baby to sleep. But that same organization also recalled 9 million cribs since 2007. 10,000 babies every year die or are severely injured by strangulation, choking on parts, from a crib not being put together right. but when done right, studies show that co-sleeping can be safe if you use a firm mattress and not have any loose blankets or sheets or anything like that in the bed with you guys. So now we're going to talk about believing in the language of your baby's cry. Responding fast builds trust with your baby. You should say no to any cry it out methods or any books titled Baby Wise, because these books focus on letting your baby cry in order to learn how to self-soothe. But a lot of people think that letting your baby cry it out will teach them to be more independent, but really it teaches them just to be detached and to lose faith in you. An article in Psychology Today by a woman named Darcia Narvaez says that when babies are stressed, they release cortisol in the brain. Cortisol actually kills brain cells, and considering the fact that at birth they only have 25% of their brain formed, that's, a big issue. Also, when cortisol is released in high numbers from babies being left to cry constantly, they have a likelihood to develop ADHD by the age of 5. The first couple of stages in the cry it out phase, where you let your baby cry, is the protesting. They have these loud cries and they're screaming. And then it turns into more of a monotonous crying phase. And then finally despair is when they start to lose hope, which is why people think that cry it out works, but really your baby's losing trust in you. So babies who are attached don't actually cry less. A university professor at Notre Dame says that stress disorders and trust issues are actually going to be pretty prominent in babies that are left to cry. They develop a lot of insecurities and they're not as outgoing. But Tufts University says that when you don't let your baby cry it out for more than the typical getting out of the shower and running towards your baby, that when you do that, you have a more passionate and well-adjusted baby. So, like I said, the most important part of attachment parenting is finding balance. A lot of people are wondering how it works, especially if you have a husband in the house, or maybe it's a boyfriend or just any kind of significant other. You should always try to make time for date night. Just even if it's an at-home dinner with a candle, something like that. You can also teach dad how to attachment parent through co-sleeping, which both of you guys can do. You can co-bathe, especially in those first newborn days. They could even baby wear and reading to them. The main misconception about attachment parenting is that you're either doing all of it and being an attachment parent, but if you can't do all of those, then you're chopped liver and you're not any kind of attachment parent. But the truth is that doing one or two or all of these things makes you an attachment parent. Being an attachment parent is about trusting your instincts that have been around since, we evolve with these instincts of hearing a baby cry and wanting to run after that baby. Knowing means doing better. So if you just research attachment parenting or any kind of parenting that you're going to do before you do it and actually weigh out the pros and cons, then you're probably going to be fine. So now that I've told you the 7 baby Bs and how to achieve them, we're going to come to wrap this up. There's been a clash in the parenting world when there's so many different ways to rear your child. But being unattached, especially in the United States and any other westernized part of the world, is a cultural norm. It's normal to want to leave your baby or to prop a bottle up or to let your baby sleep in a separate room, but it doesn't have to be. Attachment parenting doesn't mean spoiling. It means instilling trust, which as a human, you want that trust and you want that bond. So let's all get attached and give our babies the best start to life.